So we're back with more live sprinting. At the moment, I'm all alone, which is kind of weird. Um, so just to just to talk about the sprinting thing in its entirety, um, most writers have like some sort of routine that they write in. This could be, some people can sit down for 3 to 4 hours and just write nonstop. Um, I am not that individual. Um, I would like to believe I could do it if I needed to. Um, but I easily get distracted. I have 1,000 other administrative tasks I have to do. There's just a lot going on. So, what I find most often happens for me is I use what's called the Pomodoro technique. It's kind of specific on how it's supposed to be done, but you can well, I guess it's not that specific. You can change it however you want. But the idea is you write for a very short burst of time and then you take a break. Short burst of time, break. Um, and what this allows is, can I stay focused for an hour? Probably not. Can I stay focused for 15 to 20 minutes? I can probably do that. And so what it does is it allows you to kind of hyper focus. And what I noticed in my own writing was um, I could in 20 minutes accomplish what it would take me in an hour. So what I noticed is by saying that my writing sessions were very front loaded, and so I found it extremely difficult to stay focused for very long. And then I would wander, come back, write a couple sentences, go wander, come back. Well, at least with this, I have like dedicated wander time, which for me just makes things so much easier. I like having a very tight schedule. It also allows you to do like those little tiny tasks that add up into something huge and overwhelming, like answering a reader email, or I need to correct the back matter of a book, or it's all that little stuff that just becomes it adds up into big stuff. And so what you can do is in between the 15 to 20 minutes, you get like a 10-minute break. So you can go do those other little tasks or, go to the bathroom or go get more coffee or something. And this way it's kind of giving yourself a reset method and allowing you to jump back in. I don't know who came up with the technique. I just found out recently it's called the Pomodoro technique. So otherwise, it's really great for short bursts of writing, especially when you don't have a whole lot of time. And I typically have about 2 to 3 hours a day to get my writing in. So outside of that, um, okay, so they're going to start writing in about 5 minutes, it seems. Um, so let's do 15 after. And now, even like this, it lets me know, okay, I have this much time to get my act together before I have to jump into some sort of activity. I don't know about you, but staying focused for 20, 30 minutes at a time is just not an option anymore. Um, I don't know if it's because the sense of existential dread constantly hovering over me or, just stuff going on. Um, but I think we will have a couple other people popping in shortly. Um, so as far as what I'm working on right now, I really need to get going with the plot for book 3 in my series. I haven't really thought it out beyond like one massive concept. So I've been kind of cheating and working on my serial and getting a couple weeks ahead on that, which, I mean, words are words. So, yay, no matter how it happens. But at the same time, like, I need more books out. So I'm kind of all about, let's get more product out there. So, and I need to start going back and editing books 1 and 2 of the series. However, I just at the moment am waiting until I have kind of a firm idea what I want to do with book 3. Once we have that, then things will make a little more sense. So in the meantime, let's see. In the meantime, I have a short story offer on the table. I'm not sure I'm going to take it. It was very nice of them to offer it to me, but it doesn't really fit with my genre and what I'm going for right now. So I kind of had to make a tough call. And I have another short story offer that I probably will go through with because I'm just very close to the author involved. So there's a lot of moving parts. And a lot of the times, really, I think people think that writers sit down at a table and then they write, and that's writing. Even trad deals aren't like that anymore. So the reality of the matter is the administrative tasks that come along with writing are many. And what I'm finding, the more books you sell, the more tasks you have to do. It's easy when no one's reading your books, but when they start reading, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have reader emails. Oh, I have to send out newsletters. Oh, I have to run these advertising things. Oh, I have this promotion coming up. Oh, there's just a lot going on. So, and I'm one of those people that makes work. So, superhero fiction is actually doing something really cool. We just released it to the authors today. May 17th, I believe. Let me just double check. I'm not lying to you. No, May 18th through the 22nd, we are going to be holding a conference. It's not did I say the 18th? Yep, 18th through the 22nd. So what we're going to be doing is we decided that we're going to kind of pilot this idea of doing more video content, doing more outreach to not just fans of superhero novels, but just fans of superheroes in general. And so we have created a little mini con that we're going to have. I'm kind of looking forward to it. As of right now, Trish Heinrich, who's been coming into the write-ins, is going to be part of it. She's going to be moderating a couple of the panels, and then Jeff Haskell is going to also be moderating a panel. It's going to be a good time, mostly because it's a chance for authors to chit-chat about the things they love, which the things that we love tend to be the same reason why readers like our books. So we jumped into a genre that has a lot of history to it, and weirdly not in the medium that we're using. So science fiction writing has always been science fiction writing, or horror writing has always been horror writing. But the superhero genre is a little bit different in the fact that we started from comic books. So as authors, we have taken a genre from its original medium and kind of transposed it into what we do. So we still try to infuse it with, the things that we love, which is why we keep writing. And yeah, it should be a good time. I'm kind of excited to see what authors get involved. Some of them I know, some of them I don't. I'm by no means the superhero keeper of the universe. Oh, look, he's probably been here this whole time, and I had the
Not
window
the whole
hidden.
time. I was like partially typing and being like, "Oh no."
I saw the sprint and I was like, oh, I talked through the start, so I'll just meander and mutter on. Trish won't be here today, but we're trying to poke Jeff Haskell into joining us.
Yeah.
It's
like, you want to. Come on.
Well, and I have questions for him because his superhero is very tech based, so it's not anything like my superhero. So I've got questions for him. Like, surprise, you're going to be on 20 questions and you didn't even know it. Oh. Franklin, only 500.
Now, what the heck? I keep getting distracted today. It's like, oh, I ended up chatting about Harry Potter Legos with a friend on the side, and I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to be talking. We're like, yeah, did you hear the rumors? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I'm supposed to be typing a chapter right now. Oh, whoops.
It's Legos, though, so I feel like you get a pass with that.
Yeah. I'm like, these words don't count towards my word count.
Sometimes I wish my texting would count.
I know, for real.
Um,
Emailing and all that stuff.
Did you see we made the announcement for the, I don't want to call it a conference because that sounds so hoity. But we officially announced that we're doing a conference, I guess. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I secretly hope that we don't get enough authors for all the panels so that I can be on some of the panels.
You're in charge. You can be on whatever you want.
Because there's definitely oh God, let me go find what it is now. You can see how organized I am today. I'm just all over the place.
It's been one of those days. Like I got a breakthrough on my next few chapters while I was like walking around yesterday. So I typed out the bullet points, and now I'm like, oh yeah, it was easy to type the bullet points. Now I actually have to type the real stuff, and I'm like, this is a lot more detail oriented than I thought when I just jotted it down quickly. I feel like I'm slower today than I usually am.
Don't you love when you're like, oh, I had this epiphany that won't work in any way, shape, or form?
It's like, this has to work because this is in place. Oh, I never put that part in place. Time to backtrack. Put that in there. Then it's not true.
That's why I'm actually trying to hold off publishing the first book of the series, is because I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to do something in book 3, which is going to require a rewrite of parts of book 1.
It's such a good thing to be able to do if you do them all before you publish them. It's really hard because you're like, yeah, it's done. I want to get it out there. But yeah, you could come up with something really amazing and then be like, oh, I wish I had put that in there. Then, like, worst is that you have to be like, well, I'm going to write a 4th book now. Put this in there.
Well, and the horrible thing was, like, I got the luxury of republishing, so I got to go back and make some of the changes I needed to. But I still feel like I went and retconned it. And so my readers who read the original published first book, but the new published 4th book, were like, you didn't really prep for this. And I'm like, oh yeah, there was some timeline alterations in between books. How do people write 18 book long series? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, if you spreadsheet out roughly what you're planning. That way you kind of know. But it's hard for stuff like this where it's like you're locked in once you figure out in your first book what the base is. And then it's like, well, like I had people be like, the superpowers aren't that exciting after they read my first one. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm stuck using these now and I like them, but I can't really go back and be like, he has new powers. Or
the so in my serial, which takes place in the future, the telepaths have been turned into basically like mutts, and they're just used for tracking people, and like they're the most like degraded thing known to mankind. And then the I would so in the actual book series, there's just these hollow husk people that telepaths have ripped out their personality, and they're just like, robots. But I was like, man, I really like this idea so much better. I wish I had done that then. It would have been so much cooler and fit in the timeline really well.
yeah, I don't know. I guess it could be one solution could be instead of plotting out your plot, you plot out your characters. Like for superhero stuff, you could plot out like their progression with their powers instead of what they actually do. Or I don't know. I always wish I did that sort of stuff.
Tyler, for Dresden, if I understand correctly, for Dresden, each of the books are kind of a standalone book in an ongoing series, if I remember correctly. I think that I could do if each book was self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
It's the making these arches, and then I did multiple timelines, which no, never again. That was dumb. Great idea in my head. Awesome. Horrible on page.
It's kind of like writing a season of a TV show, I guess, and not like today. Well, I like the Orville as an example of what I try to do now, where it's like, oh, there is like an overall progression of your characters and what's happening, but each episode, or in this case, each book will have its like beginning, middle, and end, and then you leave kind of like threads to go, where it's like, oh, you could do what you want for a next one, which I enjoy because then it makes it easier to not be like, oh, because I hate going back to reread a massive series when there's like a giant gap in between publishing, because I'm like, this is so much. Like, I'm going to spend 40 hours on each book to reread, to remember.
Chris, so my the sprint's at 20, by the way, just so I don't forget. I was reading R.A. Salvatore. We were talking about him yesterday, and I absolutely love the Drizzt Do'Urden series. My problem with it is the character can't evolve too much, because otherwise he wouldn't be the character everyone initially wound up loving. But there was some point in like the fourth trilogy that I just realized I think I'm reading the same book, and not the same plot, but the same like character journey, the same emotional journey. And wow, I guess I have a limit on how much brooding character I can handle.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find a way to make it fresh. Otherwise, it just is the character being the same as they was. It's like even in Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta becomes a family man even after he's been like an asshole to everybody for seasons. But he's still an asshole, but you love him because he is. So like same thing there.
Let me fix this. Chris, I expect you to be writing over there.
It's like, come on, you know you want to.
Um, it's more fun when you can yell at people to write.
Like, hey, what are you doing?
I think the best thing I ever, when I was the nano coordinator, was just being able to point at people and be like, "I don't hear keys."
But I'm using a super soft keyboard, I swear.
Write like you mean it. Okay, I guess it's
I'm
writing time.
handwriting. Oh boy. Here we go.
I guess the sprint's over. There we go.
Finally popped up.
I'll admit I cheated. I was still writing. I was like, I'm going until the bot says otherwise.
Yep. And it's always like at the end where you're like, oh, that'll be the perfect next sentence.
So I forgot my last book ends with my main character bleeding to death. No. Well, she's not dead. Surprise. Like, I think I might have a plot. It's the introduction chapters. We're just going to wing it for a few.
It's like, get them back up to speed.
Yeah, you got to do like a little mini recap, a little burst of action.
Oh, I love slipping in stuff from past things to be like, yeah, remember this from the other one? Yeah.
Do you remember in old comic books what it would be like, that time Magneto almost killed you, little star. If you haven't, go read this issue. I so want to put those in my book.
That would be so fun. That would be awesome.
Remember this moment? Click here to find what happened.
Yeah.
AKA, go buy my other books.
AKA, see chapter blah, blah, blah from book 2.
That would be kind of funny.
I like that idea.
Okay, my word, 352. Woo!
Nice. Oh, goodness. Yeah, my Scrivener project went from being really organized to having like a million different text boxes open with like, this goes here, this is after this. Oh, I didn't fill up that middle piece yet.
So this is what is it? There we go. So this is what my Scrivener file currently looks like.
Oh yeah.
So the red books are part of the Night series. This is the series I'm working on now. Here's my serial. You can see it's only loosely organized.
So you do kind of what I do, where I keep like everything sort of in one so I can go back to it easily.
Well, and my reasoning for that is because when it comes down to characters, I really like having this all in. Like, I couldn't remember how to spell Bertolucci for, I think I may have changed it again. But I needed very specific names that kept coming in. And then, some of those characters show up in another book, but only get referenced loosely. So what the hell was that character? I, of course, don't use places at all because
I've only really started doing character profiles and whatnot just because it gets to the point where now I can't keep it all in my head.
So I think in my characters, let's see if I actually did any of them.
It's like, what are their abilities again? Oh, I gave them an ability that they didn't even have. Whoops.
I wrote this right here as just a little background to give my cover artist.
Cool.
Otherwise, I would never have bothered. I don't think in any of the others I did it. Because he hadn't read the first book yet and he needed to start working on the cover. So I gave him kind of a jump start. But the rest of them, like, this dude gets called Fresh Meat, except, 2 books later, he's not Fresh Meat anymore. So he needs a new nickname. And then I always have my kill pile.
Oh, yeah.
And then this is killed. Franklin, sorry you died.
At the graveyard.
Um, but and then when it comes to the actual book, um, you can see like I kind of get. I'm not religious about it, but here's a good one. So chapter head and then scene by scene.
Nice.
And it just everyone always says like the oh no, I have to go research this or I have to go look this up. Just this way it's all in one place.
Yep.
But the other thing I've started doing, let's see if I can find where I did it. So for my actual website, the I have each of my book timelines. So this is what happens in this particular book of note. And then if you go back, here's all the history of my universe. And it was cool to do this for the readers, but really I did it so I could remember what the hell I was doing.
Yep.
And then
yeah, we're not all like George R. R. Martin with 2 assistants chronicling everything we've ever written.
And then I did have this built out to have all my characters, but I realized that I got into kind of a weird place where some of my characters are called one thing in one timeline, but they eventually become known as something else, which is the big reveal. So it got really complicated to keep that. So I simplified that. But Chris, let me actually look up. I'll tell you how big my Scrivener file is. I don't put any photos into Scrivener, period.
Yeah, no, it's too much. It makes it so huge. It's a nice idea, but and I used to try to do it too. I did like the whole like, what movie star would be my character? Let's put their info in.
Oh yeah, I used to do like the who would I have be my show me the darn folder where this stuff is hidden. Okay, apparently I'm asking for way too much. So as of right now, with everything in there and no photos, Chris, my Scrivener file is 24 meg, which for a Scrivener file is pretty darn huge.
Do you do like separate manual backups? Do you save them like incrementally as you go along?
Okay, so normally, so as far as Scrivener goes, Scrivener is just a super complex compile, like a zip file. And so if you put it into Dropbox, I found out when I lost my entire hard drive overnight that Dropbox will not restore an individual scene, chapter, or book within Scrivener. So if you pull that file out, you have what the last compile is. You can't nitpick pieces. And what happened was Scrivener had corrupted the file that I was working in. It backed up. And all I needed was I had written since the corruption, I did not realize what was happening. And I had written about 40 pages and I was on like a 2-day deadline. And so my backup process is currently I do not back up my Scrivener files at all. My whole hard drive, however, is backed up onto what did they call it? The iCloud. Then my computer is backed up onto a portable hard drive, a remote hard drive, and the remote hard drive is synced to 2 hard drives. So realistically, I have it in 5 places, but if one file gets corrupted and then you go to save it, I learned that restoring a Scrivener file is probably one of the worst experiences. Each Scrivener file in that zip file is like 15,000 files.
Yeah.
So
I do the save. I'm like notorious for just being like, I have a separate folder that's like for each year that for the past like 4 years, I have like this year I have my 2020 folder, but I just like duplicate my own like organization structure, and then I'll do a folder for each project I'm working on, and I'll just do I'll like save as every day, every couple days, and call it like the date, number A or letter A, and then just like throw it into my folder. And that way, if something ever dies, I can just be like, well, I do have my from like a day ago without having to rebuild it all.
So what happened to mine that destroyed everything was I was working on my iPad, which if the iPad instance I had written in a different file, which created a more recent file.
Yep.
And when it went to back it up, it wiped everything out.
That's crazy.
And because I have it set to save 5 increment backups, I was working on my iPad long enough that it used up all 5 of the backups.
Oh, no.
It was truly the perfect storm of bullshit. And then, I had 2 days before my pre-order was up, and I was like, Amazon's gonna screw me.
Yeah.
So it was an all-night.
I think the only inconvenience I have is because I go back and forth between my laptop, my iPad, my iPod Touch, and those are like my 3 devices that I can do typing wherever. But it's like it's annoying to me when I do something somewhere and then I forget to sync it at the beginning, and it's like, oh, you still had this open on your iPad, and I'm like, what do I want to save? Which one was the last one I worked on?
And that now terrifies me.
Yeah.
Because on the computer you can easily see like what the last save was, but on the iPad version of Scrivener, it's not as clear when the last save was.
No.
And I never want to repeat that accident.
No. Oh boy.
So sprint for 1 o'clock.
Okay, cool.
What I would like to do is, because I'm super paranoid, I'd like to get a fireproof safe to put my server in. Because that's really, at this point, the process I have is so neurotic that I should be fine, I hope.
Yep. At one point, I also had a flash drive that I would copy all my files to, and I would just put it around my neck. So that way I'd be like, it is here. It's right under my like collar of my shirt. I know it's there. If I die, then it doesn't matter.
And I 100% like, there's no such thing as safe enough. And I know every day that I keep working in this Scrivener file, I'm gambling, because I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books, a serial, and 3 short stories saved in one Scrivener file.
Ugh.
And if something happened to it, I mean, thankfully, so now here's what I do. This is my new level of neuroses. Let's see if we can go for 1 o'clock. Um, can you share your regular screen? Oh, there we go. So in my iCloud Drive, we go to writing related, this series,
Yep.
one or series one, book one. And I've even gone to the length now where here's the compile of all the books.
Yep.
And then there's always cover audiobook PSD, hardback PDF, cover this. And so if you go into each of them, they're identical in name structure.
Yep.
Because I become neurotic. And then in box set, because it's just a different thing, it's driving me nuts that it's not the identical file structure.
Yeah.
And then I keep all my Vellum files in one place. And so right now, all I have is a working cover. I haven't even started working on it. But what I found was I would come up and I would be like, oh, I need the audiobook cover. So I would type in my search audiobook, and then like 1,500 files with the word audio would come up. So I needed something to logically figure out. And it's helped some.
Yeah. Yeah, that's similar to my structure that I started doing. And I only started doing it like a couple years ago when I was like, I'm so sick of not knowing where I put things, and I like duplicated the same layout from my Google Drive because if I do anything there for spreadsheets.
If I go into like the superhero fiction folder, it's just this hodgepodge of Photoshop documents, JPEGs, PNGs, inverted PNGs. Like there's no rhyme or reason. And I'm thinking I'm not far from needing to do some housekeeping in there as well. I feel like when I say, oh, I'm going to clean my house, what I really mean is I'm going to clean my hard drive.
Digital cleanse.
Oh, it is time. I did not see it coming. All right, Chris, I expect words. You too, Tyler. 465 words. Woo!
Yeah. Oh,
So it kind of is funny that we. Oh, Chris, good job. Now I can't yell at you for not writing. Our conversation yesterday about Smallville and thinking about all the how each season the powers developed a little bit. I realized in my last book, I keep hinting at the power that will eventually happen, and it's kind of making me think of in Smallville. There were multiple seasons where like he hovered off the ground, or he like and did a superhero pose and lifted up, but didn't quite fly, but he could jump. And
yep.
And I realize that I'm doing the same thing in my story, teasing the eventual burst of power at the end.
I think it makes it fun to like anticipate.
And especially in this case, my readers who read the first series know it's coming. So, Chris, guilt is pretty much how my entire life works. If it wasn't for guilt, I'm not sure I would accomplish just about anything.
The writer's guilt is the weirdest thing from an outsider's perspective. It's like, no one's forcing you to do what you do. You can just do it when you want. It's like, yeah, but if we have it that way, we'll never do anything because
there's always more Netflix to watch.
There is.
That's partly why I got rid of my PlayStation 4, was because, I could either go right or I could just sit here and click buttons.
Oh, it's so tempting. My pile of video games, and there's always more coming.
Well, and that was the worst thing, is like I was playing the same game for like 4 years. I got nothing else to do, so let's just kill some brain cells and stare at the TV.
I always get to the point where I'm like, I don't want this game to end. I like it too much, and then I just leave it, and then I'll come back to it and be like, oh, I never finished this.
Well, I was playing Destiny 2, and so there's really no end game involved. So
yes,
I realized like I was doing like asinine things just to fill time, and really, does unlocking every chest in this room really matter to anything? Playing video games wasn't making me money.
No.
I'm technically doing office hours right now, so I'm multitasking.
I'm digitizing tapes as I go, so I'm like, pop the tape in, going, monitoring.
So is that something that you can just look at and leave alone?
For now, yes. Like it'll alert me if like if it gets hung up or if it just like stops suddenly. Usually that doesn't happen too often though, so that's good.
Is that something that's extremely like processor heavy?
Well, I have a separate machine that's doing it, thankfully.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been tricky because we got like a dedicated hard drive to put all the files on, but the hard drive is not fast enough to write real time to it. So I have to do it to like the desktop and make sure I have enough space. And then once it's done, I have to copy the file over and then delete it and then start all over again. And it's like, oh man.
Do you are the files like massive that you're working with?
Yeah, because it's like HD. Thankfully, it's not higher than that, but they're HD, and then each tape could be like between 20 minutes long to like 45 minutes long. So it ends up being like, I think at the most like 70 gigabytes per video file. Once it's done, and then we can
Okay.
do whatever we want with it. So it's like, oh boy, so big.
The when we do the podcast, it's generally like 15 minutes to an hour, and the files for that are 5 to 7 gig.
Mhm.
And so it's 5 to 7 gigs sitting on my desktop, 5 to 7 gigs sitting in the application to process it, then to output the file again, and all of a sudden you're like, where'd all my hard drive space go?
Yeah.
Chris, City of Heroes, I always wanted to play it, but I could instantly see that it would be a game in which I would never leave. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the anime Dot Hack Sign, Dot Sign, whatever it is. But the whole idea is lit RPG. They go into the video game and they live out their lives there. And I was like, this would be my life right there. There would be the real world. I would be jacked in and just, oh, what do you mean it's Monday morning and I have to go to work?
Ugh. There was one night when I resurrected my old PC from like the 90s just so I could get everything off of it. And I had like a couple of old games on it. And I was like, oh, I'll just play this for a little bit just for nostalgia. And I seriously played until the sun came up and was like, I have to go to work. What did I just do to my life?
The first one I played is like an open world was Final Fantasy 11, and I've never played Final Fantasy up to this point, but I just kind of like the game mechanics, and it was pretty. And oh my god, I when you go an entire week just farming a stupid flower so that you can make this one thing and it doesn't do what it's supposed to, like you realize like, what am I doing with my life? Like I could actually be growing real flowers. Or
Yeah.
so now I just kind of walk through life just thinking, this is a level up moment.
Yep. I'm getting my XP. My body's getting XP from these steps I've taken.
In that case, I'm not leveling up very much lately.
Oh no. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, you just ate that entire pizza yourself. Would you like to sleep now? How long would you like to sleep for?
This is not the achievement you wanted to unlock.
Yeah. That'd be hilarious to have it be like everyone takes the lit RPGs so well from the ones that I've read so seriously, but I want like a full comedy lit RPG about just like the mundane aspects of life and just have it be like, you've unlocked an achievement. Like
and it's going to be something like super mundane, like you put the toilet paper on the toilet paper roll.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, it'd be like, this is your 500th time doing this. You're an expert. Wow.
I keep making the joke that I want to write a lit RPG as a teacher where, you know, I'm going to work in teaching, but it's almost like some extreme schizophrenia where like the students are like trolls that need to be defeated, and like there's sword battles that happen at staff meetings.
Oh,
it would just make my life so much more interesting.
That's like, I can imagine that being like a great anime with like the meetings being just over the top with like somebody running in and just like screaming and like jumping up.
Well, I make the joke that during like staff meetings, whenever they're reading a PowerPoint to us, they're actually saying like a sleep spell, and I'm fighting it. And every time my eyes close, I just think, "Oh man, I lost that roll." No, I'm good. I'm good. Oh no, I rolled a 1. I'm going out.
Oh no.
Okay, it looks like the next one is gonna be. Oh, they beat me to it. In 9 minutes. So, Chris, just so you know, like every time we mention the sprints, we're in a Discord server with a whole bunch of other writers. So sometimes we plan the sprints, and then sometimes they get planned for us.
It's always fun when it's like starts in 2 minutes, and you're like, my brain doesn't even know what it's going to type even.
I'm still like, oh God, what was my word count before? Oh, that's not the word count from before. Jill got up early and started.
Oh yeah, she's winning. She's winning life right now.
I always think like, I think I have admin powers. I think I can go demote her back to level 1. Oh, you're at number 1.
Oh my gosh.
By 800 words.
Oh.
I'm in a very distant number 3.
See, I always stop in the afternoon though, and then somebody always does it for like the entire day, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be that prolific because I just give up for like after lunch.
Well, and so there's always like the invite, like Mal has her the exact same thing as this, and Mal does it. And so occasionally I'll just go, guest appear on hers, which is fun. But then I'm like, man, this has been like 4 hours, and like I really need to go eat food or go for a walk, or eventually I'm going to start getting up early. This is such a lie, but I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do everything I need to do early in the morning, and then I'm just going to spend all day writing. It'll never happen.
No, the only time I can get away with that is there was one like string of months where it was like, oh, for the Saturdays, I plan to just be like, I'm going to the coffee shop, like stereotypical, and just like get the coffee, sit for 2 hours, buy something else, do another 2 hours. And it was really productive, but like I drank so much sugary coffee because you of course got to get like the fancy kind.
By the end of it, you're like, I'm really poor, but I have a novel.
I'm really poor. I wrote the novel.
I'm gonna make enough money off this novel to pay my coffee tab.
Yeah. I made back that $4.
Chris, I guess I can understand if you got a work emergency to deal with. You should just tell them you're in the bathroom. Just lie.
It's like go to the bathroom, pull up your phone with a Google Doc, and then do it.
So when I'm at work I don't eat lunch when I'm at work ever. And I use that half hour to either write or do college stuff. And I always say like a half hour of writing, I can get my words for the day and I'm fine. But then I'm always like, oh, I have all these other tasks to do. And so every time like I'm walking through the hallway and I have my phone, I'm just like, screw it. I'm just going to type out words as I wander about.
Yep.
It's 30 more words than I had a minute ago.
It's like I keep thinking of doing the stupid dictation on the go, but it's like, oh no, I'm not that good. I can't formulate my thoughts into things through my mouth.
I really should get back into it, especially so when I have a 2-hour commute every day, so hour in, hour out, and I generally use the morning to listen to podcasts because I'm just brain dead. I'm hardly functioning human. And that's been really good. But then when I would get home, I'd go for a walk or whatever, and I would do some then. But the problem with it just became I'm wandering aimlessly, muttering complete and utter nonsense. It almost took me longer to edit it back into something usable, which is why I started writing in first person, because I thought that would be so much easier. But I'm not a 26-year-old female. It's a little harder to speak in character. There's a reason I'm not an actor.
That is the drawback of first person, is making it sound, because it's like the flip side. I can always tell when I'm reading a book that is being passed off as being written by a dude, and I'm like, a dude did not write this. I just know. And I know that I can't do the other way around either, where I'm like, I can't pull certain characters off with internal dialogue with themselves.
So my first superhero series, the primary character, the instigating character, is a male, but there's a female Marine, and thankfully, and this is going to sound horrible no matter how you slice it, Marines aren't gendered; they're just Marines. Mm-hmm. So basically, she's my father for all intents and purposes. He's ex-military, like go hard, go home. This book is a 26-year-old female in 1940, and it's taken a little bit of mindset to work with it. And then my next series, I think, is going to be all female, and one of them is a 19-year-old girl, and I might be making bad choices.
You gotta do research. You gotta listen to a bunch of vlogs.
Literally lift the dialogue out of my classroom and use it.
Yep.
And sometimes it is so hard. Like, what are you actually saying? Like, I know the words coming out of your mouth, but I don't know what they mean.
It's a different language.
It makes me feel so old when it comes to that. Everything else I can handle, but and this morning, because I've eaten way too much crap lately, I cut up green peppers, and I am discovering that green peppers and coffee do not mix. It's actually quite gross. But I'm pretending to be healthy.
Body, you're going to consume this? You're not going to say no?
I need to unlock the achievement.
I need to go platinum. I need the platinum trophy.
Oh God. I just I put in an order at Target last night, and they now actually have delivery slots in a reasonable time, but I realized, like, ordering from Target and they deliver, which is super awesome because I have horrible anxiety going out into the universe right now. I realized $200, and I don't think I bought any real food. Like it's not like things I'm gonna like. Some of it's burgers and stuff like that, but so much is like pre-packaged or things that you can freeze. I miss salad. I never thought this day would come.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in my circle are like, yeah, we were used to getting a fresh salad every day, and it's like, oh no, like, but I'll say for shopping tips, if you do go out to look for something, go in the evening after everyone's gone home, because the past couple of times I've gone out to like a supermarket or a Target, if you go around 7:00, that's usually when everyone is gone.
Okay.
So it's not bad. That's when I was able to find like some pretty good, like that was when I bought like, oh yay, they have lettuce. Like,
Well, and that's the problem. Like, I before all of this started, I had everything I needed to, Maine has taught everyone how to survive a winter.
mhm.
And so my freezer was full of meats and hamburger and sausages. And so like I have all that stuff. And then you're like, what am I actually gonna do? I can't just eat ground hamburger for dinner.
Yeah, it gets old really quick.
And like you can't freeze steak tips. They don't taste good afterwards. Or you're like, oh, I really want to marinate this, and you're like, I either have to eat it tonight or throw it away. And so far, the only food I've had to discard is half an onion and 2 bananas. Everything else, the bananas just don't seem to last very long.
Ugh.
Oh, Chris, I miss chicken and turkey. I could not. My Target does not have any chicken right now. I did get some ground turkey, which in Hamburger Helper or something, I can mix turkey in and it's good enough. Or I make turkey burgers, but I'm so tired of burgers.
I've been lucky enough to get like some of the canned chicken where I'm like, I'll just fry this and pretend that I got it from like a full chicken breast.
The um what was it I was after? Like it's mostly produce has been the problem. And so everything nothing lasts long enough. So
Yeah, you have to shop with like I need to eat this within like 4 or 5 days and be like, I'm gonna commit to this.
um Chris, I'm finding out how much stuff you can actually freeze. I'm getting milk today and I'm going to ration out my milk in Tupperware for my cereal and
Oh,
then I'm
that's
going to
cool.
freeze it. Um, I wound up having to buy so much Tupperware because my freezer is like the most organized thing in my life right now. Did the the bot started.
Oh,
Oh,
it's doing its job.
okay, be back shortly. Oops. Woot! What did I get? This time 394 words, which makes for my total today. Oops. 1,211.
Woo!
I need to start going back to getting 2,000 and stop doing the minimum.
To the maximum.
So far, my max in the I keep forgetting to put my words in for the. Oh crap! I forgot to put my words in last. No, I can figure that out. I haven't checked Facebook in a while, and there's just stuff galore.
Stuff galore. Oh no. That's when it's like notifications. Like 100.
Yeah, so if you haven't noticed, Church and I have been going a little bit psycho with the author group for superheroes. Between the promotion, the conference, we're just unleashing an unholy hell right now. We just want. Oh damn, Chris, 814. I'm such a slowpoke.
Mm-hmm.
400 words total. I'm still a slowpoke. Or 400 words for that write-in. We are so incredibly annoyed with the fact that a superhero book, even a superhero book that gets a BookBub, can barely break the top 10 in the category. And so, you're like in the top 100 in the entire Amazon store, and yet you still have all these urban fantasy authors, which no knock to urban fantasy authors, but stay in your damn lane. And it's just gotten us so annoyed that every time we see it, like, we'll send screenshots to each other and we're like, okay, we need to do more superhero stuff.
Yeah, that seems to be the only way to come against it, is to just put as much out as we can.
And I'm not ignoring you, Chris. I'll be with you in just a second. We are trying to produce as much content as possible for the website, which is the books and whatever drive traffic there. Because our goal is, right now we're averaging about 1,000 views a month, and we want to get that to a steady 5,000 views a month. And if we can hit that, we're starting to get some people are seeing decent sales off there. So eventually we'll start running paid ads, and then all hell will break loose. But Amazon categories. So Chris is asking about how much you recap when you start a sequel. Ooh.
I don't do. I used to do when I started, and I took it all out because it was just annoying. It was like kind of like a 1-page recap, like what they do in comics, where it's like last time on Invincible Iron Man number 37 or whatever. but then it just comes out clunky like for me. So instead, because it's a novel, I just kind of like sprinkle it through where it needs to be told, like far enough ahead to kind of
Mm.
be like, oh yeah.
I am literally with my college students recording a video tomorrow on the dangers of info dumping. And so, and I'll be the first one to admit that sometimes it's just a lot of information you have to dump. So, you know, your character is recalling something, or there's a minor flashback, or they're making a lot of weird references to things. Um, so I try and split it up uh, in the opening chapter. I always try and have the character recap the distance between the previous book and the current book. So just to establish a timeline. So I literally just wrote my character was in bed rest for 3 months and then spent 3 months training. Just so the reader is instantly like, oh, it's 6 months after the last book. So we know that if some of the world has changed a little bit, some time has passed to allow that. But I did a little bit of a power recap in this first chapter. She's battling some robbers, and her power is expanded a little bit at the end of the last book. So I needed just to recount all the the different ways she can use her abilities. And so this is almost her coming back out onto the streets for the first time in 6 months, and she's blatantly showing off. And for her, it's showing that she's getting cocky. But for the reader, what I'm actually doing is recapping all the things that she can do. Um, so it's, I think it's incredibly subtle, but
Yeah, and for abilities, yeah, like the first time they show up again, I'll explain how they work. That way, if it's been a while since somebody's read the last book, then they'll have a refresher. And then for like relevant events, it's if they're not all like dumped like you say to avoid like a giant wall of text to be like, just so you, in case you don't remember, if it's put through where it makes sense to your characters to be reminded themselves, then I feel like as a reader, it comes across as like enjoyable to revisit, because obviously if you're on like the fourth or fifth book of a series that you're reading, then you only got there because you enjoyed the previous three. So it is more like a, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. That was cool. Or like, oh, that was a terrible time for
yeah,
our hero when that battle happened. And then it's like, okay, now you're caught back up.
I mentioned that she's not fighting as fast as she normally does because, you know, she got horribly stabbed and half her torso is scar tissue. And wow, that Olivia bitch that stabbed her is going down. Um, but one of the things that I really like doing, and one of my students actually recommended this, is having your main character eavesdrop on a conversation between two characters. And that way, those other characters are recounting, and your character is now reacting to the recounting and not doing the recounting themselves.
Oh,
Uh,
that's
and it almost puts the reader in the spot of the main character, which I thought was genius. I probably should actually do it more.
that's a cool like framing device.
Oh God, did they already? They've started sprinting again. Okay, I'm in for this one, and then I probably am done for at least the moment.
Yeah, my brain is my brain's running out of juice.
I'm trying. I need to get over my 1250.
Yes, you can do it.
Okay, I'll be back in a few. Oh, I forgot to do this correctly. Now I have to do math. I'm holding everyone up.
Well, if you entered your total when you started, or what you had when you started, if you entered your ending count, it like automatically figures it out for you.
But in Scrivener, I started into a new scene, but I set it to 0, or I set it to the other scene, so I have to add the two scenes together. You know, basic arithmetic.
Yeah.
Derek, welcome to the party. You're eventually going to have to join us on camera instead of sneaking into the comments.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to just keep dragging people into this. Every morning I'm like, mwahaha, let me send Franklin a message. Trish was gonna do it, but we have a panel later today for QuarenCon.
Ooh.
It's a UK conference, so okay.
Oh,
wow. Doing it with I don't even know who I'm doing it with, to be quite honest. Matt King. Who else? Oh, Karen Diem, Michael Bailey, and and Taylor Elwood.
Cool.
It should be kind of fun. It was kind of what gave us the inspiration for doing our own conference. We just figured it would be, let's talk superhero stuff until we're blue in the face.
Plenty to talk about.
Ooh, and someone else just signed up for the convention. Nancy O'Toole, I see you in there. Ooh, it's going to be interesting to see what people want to be on for panels. I think I'm most excited for the superhero romance writers. I just want to hear them talk about smut.
Yeah.
I know that that's not all romance is, but
it's about two characters that need to get together.
I found it so difficult to write smut and make it like literarily interesting without it just writing like porn.
The trick is, because I read the lady who writes the Outlander books. She has a short. It's really short. It's really good though. It's titled like How I Write My Sex Scenes or something.
Oh, really?
She gives you like examples and then breaks it all down. And she's like, you need to have something going on besides the physical intimacy. Like you have to have the characters emotionally struggling with something and then coming together like solves it for them.
Someone in the superhero group made a statement that just has stuck with me, and it's writing a sex scene is not about the sex, it's about the emotion. And so if it's just emotionless mechanics of grinding, then you're basically just writing paid porn, which isn't exactly an enjoyable read. So I think I did an okay job with it. I'm not going to say I'm winning any prizes, but it was definitely a stretch for me as far as writing goes. So now that I've done it once, now I'm all curious about how other people do it.
It's definitely takes some skill and some thought.
Do you have you mostly fade to black, right?
Yeah, I haven't had anything racy in my stuff yet.
I'm mostly like I definitely let the a certain amount of foreplay happen, but even that's still very evening TV. And then I fade to black. I think in this series, because it's more urban fantasy, I do think that there's a certain expectation of a dialed up emotional sex scene. And I have a spot for it, so I need to go in and write it, except just turn red every time I think about it.
Let's put on some sexy music and just do it.
Well, I'm not even kidding. Like, there was like mood music. There was everything short of candles as I was writing this.
Oh, jeez.
And like I had just read a couple scenes from someone else's book, because there were certain things in it that I just didn't like the mechanics of it, but I really liked the emotion. So I was like, okay, very inspired. Okay, just do it with your eyes closed and don't look at them as it happens. I'm so not a prude. I can not even a little bit, but when it comes to writing it, just
like, that's why it's got to be about more than the physical act. Like, it's got to be, I don't know how to describe it. Because when you read one that it's justified, like in all the Game of Thrones stuff, I'm like, oh, it doesn't come across as awkward. Like, it makes sense to be happening. Like, it just has to make sense that it's happening, and then it has to not be so much like you don't want it to be like a play by play. Like, you have to leave enough up to the imagination.
Yeah. And I almost kind of wrote it in a way that's similar to my fight scenes. Like, you don't need to know everything that's happening. Like, there's a little bit of titillation that can happen in your own imagination. I wanted to give you the bullet points, so to inspire the imagination, but by no means.
Yeah, because different descriptives have a different effect when you read. Like, some of them are like the overly descriptive stuff. It's like it becomes repulsive because you're like, oh, the word choice is just like, I did not want to associate that word with that, or like you can't really use metaphor the same way that you would just use it normally.
And I hate when metaphor comes into play during that, because then it's almost like the writer is trying to dance around it, but they really want this magical blossoming event to happen. And you're just like, oh my God, these two people are naked and having sex. Like, it's not all rose petals and sunshine. Like,
yeah.
My characters had a moment where they stopped to kind of laugh about some ridiculousness that happened. Like it. I didn't want my reader to hear the soft music that was playing in my room while it was happening. So that would be kind of funny. Here's my Sexy Time soundtrack.
Some of the YA books do that, where they'll put a playlist at the back and be like, here you go. It's like, oh, that's bold of you.
It would always be something like, I did listen to Sexy Time music while I was writing it. It was it was so whatever.
Listen to actiony upbeat music to write like a fight scene, so I mean, it makes sense.
I always have instrumental, like high epic music going when fight scenes happen.
It's so funny to listen to like a superhero movie soundtrack, like Captain America Winter Soldier, while you're writing a romance scene. I'd just be like, yeah.
I think I would read that. I want the spy espionage motif carried into a sex scene where there's the potential for someone getting stabbed.
Yeah.
And two great political powers could crumble. Like, I feel there's some good use of bad metaphor right there.
Yeah. Everything rests on this diplomacy. And then at the end, they'll be like, the treaty has been signed. Like, until next time. Oh,
Okay. With that thought, I think we are good for the day.
yeah.
All right. I will shoot you a message. Go sign up for the conference and come join us.
Okay, I'll have to do that.
I'm such a superhero bully lately.
Like, I gotta decide what I want to sign up for. I'm gonna be one of those people. It's like, oh, it's like debate.
Well, after your treaty comment, it's definitely the romance panel.
The romance. Here's how it's done. I haven't written a single sex scene. I'll tell you how to do it though.
You could start a whole new genre.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's kind of on par with like Chuck Tingle, who you got to admit, like the dude knows his audience.
Yep. My goodness.
Eventually, I'll buy one. Eventually. All right. I will talk to you later.
All righty.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.